Finding that middle ground to balance the COVID-19 containment measures and the economic activities has been reaping dividends. Preliminary figures are showing growth of double digits. We are going for growth right now. The country's economic performance for the April to June 2021 quarter registered growth of 12.9% compared to the corresponding period last year. The January to June period this year also had a positive growth of 2.3%. Released by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, the PIOJ, the figures are an indication that the economy has begun to show signs of recovery. Heading the top 6 contributing factors, according to Director General Dr. Wayne Henry, is the increased domestic and external demand for Jamaica's goods and services.
Increased operating hours for businesses, which facilitated higher capacity utilization rates and production levels. 3. An increase in the implementation of residential and commercial building projects and road construction works. 4. Improved weather conditions, which facilitated growth in the agriculture and electricity and water supply industries. 5. Higher levels of employment relative to the closure of businesses and layoffs caused by the lockdown in the corresponding quarter of 2020. And 6. Higher levels of business confidence associated with the prospects for strengthened economic outturn in the short to medium term.
For the goods producing and services industries, major growth was recorded for the April to June 2021 quarter. The services industry increased by 14% over the period, with the goods producing industry recording growth of 7.8%. Top performing sectors are hotels and restaurants, with a 330.7% increase, due mainly to a sharp increase in visitor arrival. There was a 50% increase for other services and 16.5% for transport, storage, and communication.
Air transport subcomponent largely reflected increased passenger movements of 842,069, up from 38,408. Maritime transport subcomponent due to an estimated 16.6% growth in cargo handled at the heavier weighted Port of Kingston.
Meanwhile, construction grew by a little over 18% and agriculture, forestry and fisheries went up by 10.3%. Dr. Henry says growth in agriculture was driven by other crops, which grew by 17.6%, reflecting higher production in 8 of the 9 crop groups.
This performance was due to a rise in hectares reaped and output per hectare reaped. The most significant increases were recorded for potatoes, up 28.3%, vegetables up 27.8%, and condiments up 20.2%.
On the employment side, approximately 84,400 persons were re-employed as at April this year, following the loss of over 151,000 jobs during the initial stages of the COVID-19 pandemic in July 2020. This is taken from the April 2021 labor market survey. Despite the positive outturn, the period also saw a decline in the employed labor force by 40,500 persons relative to the same period in 2019. This is because no survey was undertaken in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, Dr. Henry says the data is not comparable because of the seasonality factors, especially when compared with January 2020, when Jamaica recorded its pre-COVID-19 employment high.
It is important to note that employment levels have increased since July 2020 as the economy gradually reopened. Pre-COVID employment levels should be attained in fiscal year 2022-23.
The overall unemployment rate in April was 9%, which was 1.2 percentage points lower than the corresponding period in 2019. So what's the economic outlook for the short term? Growth of 4 to 6% is projected for the July to September 2021 quarter. This is dependent on local industries, global economies, and employment levels gradually recovering from the fallout sparked by the pandemic. However, on the downside of things, growth could be overshadowed by adverse weather conditions during the hurricane season, downturn in mining and quarrying, and the spread of new variants of COVID-19 and its impact on the domestic economy. Notwithstanding these, the outlook for the short term remains very positive.
It is anticipated that for all quarters of fiscal year 2021-22, the country will record higher levels of output relative to the subdued performance for fiscal year 2020-21 due to the restrictions caused by COVID-19. Consequently, the PIOJ's projection is for growth in output within the range of 6% to 10% for the full fiscal year. It should be noted, however, that the economy is not expected to attain pre-COVID GDP levels until fiscal year 2023-24.
It has not been an easy year and a half, and right now as we navigate this third wave of COVID-19 infection, it is expected that more stringent measures to limit the spread may be applied. And the challenge will continue to be how to effectively manage the spread of the virus while enabling an environment for growth.